Okay, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Sorry for a few days off, but there is a lot to discuss today, and today could probably be best described as Republicans behaving badly. We start, of course, with Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's going after her colleague, Representative Jasmine Crockett, using an ad hominem attack.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about
I
don't
think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about. I
think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No,
what you're
ain't
reading.
nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath
would
even
you
your
please
history.
regain
Beneath
order
even
of your
you.
committee?
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move
This
to
is
take down
AOC.
Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you
Meeting will
attack the
suspend.
physical
Meeting will
appearance of another
suspend.
person?
Are your
Move
feelings hurt?
her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play. with
Baby
me.
girl?
We're gonna,
I don't
We
think
are going to
so.
move, and we're going to take your words down.
I
Thank you very
second that motion.
So who will have to pay? Okay. Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
needs to
recognizes
apologize. No. She
Perry.
needs to
Okay,
apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Green
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then
Okay,
you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Perry.
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty
No,
self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're not.
out of order.
You don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
So childish. I remember being told every once in a while you'll hear the trope, if only we elected more women, that things would be more civil. Now look, I'm all for electing women. That's not the point of this. The point is we have a human being problem. Electing more men isn't going to help. Electing more women isn't going to help. We have a culture problem. We have a people problem. We are not a serious people. And I would argue that Marjorie Taylor Greene started this whole thing, of course. And I think my friend Van Applegate, who calls this trickle-down Trumpism, is onto something. And of course, it doesn't end there with Marjorie Taylor Greene. There are other stories, perhaps more serious stories, in fact, to talk about. Let's go to Justice Samuel Alito and his wife.
There are calls for Justice Samuel Alito to recuse himself from any cases involving the 2020 election after
This
the New
is
York
CBS.
Times published this photo of an upside-down American flag flying outside Alito's home in the days after the January 6th assault on the U.S. Capitol. The flag upside down became a symbol of the Stop the Steal movement used by rioters and election deniers after the 2020 vote.
So basically, the story is that Sam Alito's wife got into an argument with someone in the neighborhood who had a profane anti-Trump sign, who may or may not have called Mrs. Alito a bad word. But rather than rising above it, she retaliated by using this political symbol in the house that Justice Alito also lives in, which I think, if nothing else, it's not living up to that very high standard that I think we expect from Supreme Court justices. It's a lifetime appointment. It's supposed to be blind justice. And now they are ruling on cases. The Supreme Court is ruling on cases such as whether or not Donald Trump should have immunity from being prosecuted. So not a great look. And of course, this comes on the heels of Jenny Thomas, Justice Clarence Thomas's wife, who attended a Stop the Steal rally on January 6th and who was texting former Trump chief of staff Mark Meadows, urging Trump not to concede the election, despite the fact that he had already lost to Joe Biden. So not a good look. It is a mess. Trickle-down Trumpism, as Van Applegate says, in my opinion. And this brings us to our third example. Governor Abbott of Texas, and what I believe to be a miscarriage of justice.
Tonight, a man convicted of murder for killing an armed Black Lives Matter protester is walking free. Former U.S. Army Sergeant Daniel Perry was serving a 25-year prison sentence for fatally shooting Air Force veteran Garrett Foster in 2020. Today, Perry was pardoned by Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Now, just to remind you what happened, Prosecutors say that Perry drove his SUV through a red light into a crowd of protesters in Austin. He was apparently approached by Foster, who was openly carrying an assault-style rifle, which is legal in Texas. Foster then motioned for Perry to lower his window, at which point Perry shot Foster with a handgun. The defense argued that Perry's actions were justified as self-defense, but the jury, they went on to convict him. Now, Governor Abbott made an unusual request for the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles to carry out an expedited review before Perry was even sentenced. Now, that board unanimously voted to pardon Perry and restore his firearm rights earlier today.
Now, look, I'm not sure that we should have open carry laws. I don't know if it's a great idea for people to be allowed to walk around with guns. But if that is the law, and that is the law in Texas, then it shouldn't be the case that if you see somebody open carrying, you can shoot and kill them for no reason based on the fact that you may or may not be afraid of them. And that seems to be the case here. It seems to be a miscarriage of justice. And what it comes down to, it seems like, is which tribe you're on, which team you're on. If you're perceived to be supporting the Black Lives Matter cause, protesting the murder of George Floyd, the perception is that you're not on our team. Therefore, you don't get pardoned. If you are perceived to be on our side, then you're a good protester and you do get pardoned. For example, Donald Trump wants to pardon the January 6th rioters, for example. Not a great look. And I think that if you combine these things, if you combine Marjorie Taylor Greene and her comments, right? It reminds me of Trump. Trump engages in attacking people based on their personal appearance. Marjorie Taylor Greene refused to apologize. That is very Trumpian. It may or may not have been a racist attack, depending on how you look at it. The comment about Representative Jasmine Crockett's eyelashes. Then you have the case of the pardons, and we know how Donald Trump feels, right? If you are on his team, if you're the January 6th rioters, then you get pardoned. If you're not, if you're General Milley, then you may deserve to be executed. So that's basically what it comes down to. And then of course you have the case of Justice Alito's wife flying that flag, which, if anybody's supposed to keep this all together and hold the president accountable and uphold the rule of law, it would presumably be the Supreme Court. But I don't think we can trust that blind justice is happening there. So not great, but it doesn't end there. Actually, it doesn't end there. Let's go to Elise Stefanik, who was on Fox News this week, and get her take when Shannon Bream dares to question whether she has always been a loyal Trumpian, as she is now being considered for Trump's running mate.
Leadership. I want to talk to you about the Veep stakes. Your name is continually thrown out as being on the short list, potentially, that this trip may be part of an audition. The New York Times had a lengthy piece where they talk about your transformation, they say, from somebody who was not supportive of President Trump to somebody who is full-throatedly supportive of him. They say you called him a whack job at one point, and they add this. In August 2015, she told a New York radio station that he was insulting to women and that his candidacy would hurt the party's efforts to attract female voters. According to her former friends, they continue, she thought Mr. Trump was too awful and ridiculous to be taken seriously. Her revisionism still shocks those who have known her the longest and who remember the disdain she expressed for Mr. Trump back then. So the question is when, more importantly, why did you change your mind about President Trump?
Well, Shannon, it's a disgrace that you would quote the New York Times with nameless, faceless,
but they're quoting your
sources.
Friends, so I'm giving you a chance to respond to
Shannon.
that.
Okay, so here's Shannon Bream made a little bit of a mistake. It's not just her friends that they're quoting. The whack job comment was actually said by Stefanik in documents obtained by the New York Times, at least according to the New York Times. The other comments about Donald Trump regarding the Access Hollywood were actually on a radio. It was Elise Stefanik's own words on radio. So the one thing that she's lingering on here has to do with her friends who are unnamed, but that's only 1 out of 3 of the references Shannon Bream just referenced.
No, Shannon, they're not quoting my friends. Those names are not included because they are false smears. I was attacked.
To be
as the
fair,
only
there are a number
Republican
of names of people. Just to be fair, there are a number of names of people who are quoted in the article.
Shannon, let me
People
correct
can read it
you.
for themselves.
This is a false smear, and let me tell you a fact, Shannon. In 2016, I was attacked as the only elected Republican from the Northeast who voted for President Trump. Democrats spent hundreds of thousands of dollars attacking me for that fact. So to say that I didn't support him is just false. I have been proud to be one of the strongest supporters. Going back to when he ran for 2016 was...
Okay, so she's wrong on the fact. She's obviously lying, but I think she's winning this interview because what does Trump want to see? Someone who's a fighter, someone who attacks, someone who goes after the media, even if it's ostensibly a friendly media outlet like Fox News.
Which was when it was my first re-election to the House. I have strongly supported him. He is going to be the next president of the United States. The American people know that. My constituents know that. And I'm proud to be one of his strongest allies in Congress. I have always put my district first, New York 21 first, and America first. And this is an opportunity for us to stop the failures of Joe Biden and elect a president who led to a booming economy, a strong national security. But my record speaks for itself, Shannon.
But let me ask you.
My record stands for itself.
Let me ask you, though, because they quote you on a radio station calling him insulting to women. Is that a misquote? Did you not say that?
I said the statement that the Democrats leaked out in 2016, that was insulting. However, Shannon...
That the Democrats leaked out. I think she's talking about the Access Hollywood video with video of Donald Trump talking about grabbing women by the you-know-what. But the Democrats leaked it out.
However, Shannon, I stood by and supported him, and I strongly support him, and he has done...
So she's proud that she supported this guy. I could go on.
And he has done so much to promote women in senior positions, as well as promote...
Translation, because he hires women to be press secretaries, deputy campaign managers, whatever, he can do whatever he wants to them. That's okay.
Promote women's economic opportunity that we experienced under the 4 years of his administration. So I've been proud to support him.
Same thing that Democrats and feminists said about Bill Clinton, by the way. Essentially the same argument.
It's a disgrace that you would take a New York Times article and just read negative quotes when the reality was I was the only Republican elected woman from the Northeast who voted for him in 2016, who has strongly supported him, and I'm proud to be one of his strongest allies today.
Okay, we know where you are today. Folks can go read that article for themselves. There are plenty of names, people who went on the record, and we'll leave it there. Clearly, you are supportive of him now, and we will track and follow where you are on the campaign trail.
I was supportive of him then, Shannon, in 2016, as you know, so I hope you will tell the viewers that as well, which I voted for him in 2016 and was attacked for doing so.
Congresswoman, we always appreciate your time. Safe travel.
Stefanik is so thirsty, but I give Shannon Bream, by the way, who I think is a nice person, Shannon Bream credit for keeping her composure. It's not easy to be calm when you think you go into an interview thinking maybe it's going to be a little contentious, but and the person just goes ballistic on you like that. So again, kudos to Shannon Bream. Okay, let's move to Mitt Romney, who said something last week very interesting and honestly surprising to me. It's not often that something surprises me. Mitt Romney is the only Republican senator to have voted for Donald Trump's impeachment and removal twice. He's the only Republican senator. And here he is saying that if he were president, he would have pardoned Donald Trump. Stunning.
Had I been President Biden, when the Justice Department brought out indictments, I would have immediately pardoned him. I'd have pardoned President Trump. Why? Well, because it makes me, President Biden, the big guy, and the person I pardoned, the little guy. And number two, it's not going to get resolved before the election. It's not going to have an impact before the election. And frankly, the country doesn't want to have to go through prosecuting a former president.
Using the word the big guy may not be the best way to describe Joe Biden, considering the whole Hunter Biden laptop situation. But anyway, I get what Mitt Romney's saying. He's saying that if you're the president, you just got elected, and you decide to pardon the last guy, you're the man. It shows that you have the power, and you're doing a favor to this little peon. And it would really, honestly, it would remove a couple of things that Trump has going for him, right? Trump loves to play the victim, and he loves to, insinuate that the deep state and that Biden is out to get him, that he needs he needs vengeance because he's being persecuted. So this would have removed that. So there's an argument for it. On the other hand, keep in mind that Donald Trump's entire life's history is skating by and people letting him escape. Just when he's down, they never kick him. He's down and Mitch McConnell lets him back up. He's down and Kevin McCarthy lets him back up. And imagine if finally Joe Biden has finally overcome everything to get elected. And not only does Biden pardon Trump from federal charges, but Romney wants Biden, and this is in a different part, I don't have the clip right now, but Romney wanted Biden to pressure state district's attorney and prosecutors not to prosecute Trump, for example, in New York, the Alvin Bragg case. So just imagine, right now, Biden has all this trouble with the left flank of his progressive base. Imagine if Biden had gone out of his way to let Trump skate yet again, the fallout. So look, I think that this ultimately will come down to, how does it shake out? If Donald Trump ends up winning the election in 2024 and essentially cancels the court cases against him, then Romney's advice, I think, will look a lot smarter and maybe prophetic. On the other hand, if Trump loses and is in jail a year from now, then I think Romney's advice will look pretty dumb in retrospect. Anyway, it is rare that somebody says something that contrarian and interesting, and I wrote a whole column at the Daily Beast about it. Go read that. But interesting stuff. Also, I wrote a piece at the Daily Beast also about the three things that happened last week: the Justice Alito flag story, the AOC eyelashes story, and the Governor Abbott pardon, and combining those three things. So do check that out. Lastly, before I let you go, I just wanted to say a word about my friend and former colleague, Alice Stewart. Alice and I worked together at CNN for many years. In fact, I believe our last appearance, she was a contributor, I was just a guest, but was this past really close to Christmas time. We were on CNN together. Alice also was on my podcast and appeared 2 or 3 times at a little workshop I put together at the Leadership Institute, where we train center-right aspiring journalists and commentators. So it was a shock that she passed away. Alice was, by all accounts, a very good, decent person, a top political professional, and a good friend. So Alice Stewart, you will be missed. Thank you guys all for watching, and I hope to see you back here soon.